Heard of Q Broadcast? It's taking the world by storm. People are cutting the cord to their high cable bills and moving away from streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and others for something better. Q Broadcast. For just $60 a month, you'll get access to every channel you could ever want, including HBO, Cinemax, and Stars. And the best part? There are no contracts, no hidden fees, and you're free to cancel anytime. With Q Broadcast, you can enjoy streaming live TV, movies, and top series on up to 5 devices at once. Whether you're at home or on the go, Q Broadcast makes sure your entertainment is always at your fingertips. Imagine being able to watch all your favorite channels from anywhere, anytime, without any restrictions. We're talking about thousands of movies, hundreds of TV series, and a huge library of live channels, all in one place. And don't forget video on demand and pay-per-view events. Those are included at no extra cost, so you'll never miss a big event again. Now, take a second and think about your current cable bill. You're probably paying anywhere between $100 and $300 every month, locked into long-term contracts and hit with surprise rate increases. With Q Broadcast, that's a thing of the past. It's just $60 a month. No contracts, no extra fees, no hidden costs, and no price hikes. Why juggle multiple subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, and cable when Q Broadcast gives you everything you need in one convenient package? People everywhere are switching to Q Broadcast, saving money and getting more content than ever before. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and sign up for Q Broadcast today. Just $60 a month, no contracts, no hidden fees. It's time to take control of your entertainment and start streaming smarter.
We live in a world where men are told it's harmless. It's just entertainment. Let's stop lying to ourselves. Pornography destroys. It weakens your spirit. It dulls your drive. And it robs you of what real intimacy is supposed to be. Every click is a step away from the man you're supposed to be. We can't call ourselves leaders if we are slaves to a screen.
As someone that is prior service, I know all about discipline. And discipline isn't out there, it's within your mind. Porn rewires your brain, weakens your will, wrecks all of your relationships. It doesn't just stay on a screen, it invades your marriage, your confidence, and your actual purpose. As men, if we don't learn to discipline ourselves, we'll be ruled by our impulses. Now, it is time to stand up and take control before this silent war takes more than you're willing to lose.
Real men don't hide in the shadows of shame. We step up and we protect what's ours. We fight for our wives and kids, our own hearts. Twitter isn't just an app, it's a weapon. It's a tool used to break free and start living like the man that you're meant to be. The battle's here and it starts with you. You can stop living in shame and you can break free today.
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response. Shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, and
Well,
yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrissey?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle, she's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement, then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really aware of what's going on, you know, and I don't like it, you know. There's a lot of problems. I don't like the way society is based.
What bothers you? Give us some of the misgivings you have.
The rich, the poor, the people starving, the wars, you know. Why can't, you know, everybody just get along and just live their life?
Selling real and Chevy.
Propagating truth in a world of lies. You are listening to the John H. Project.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I am your host, John H. Happy to be back with you once again, hailing proudly from the coastal plains of the Old North State. I'll be with you as we take a somewhat satirical journey down the path of murder, destruction, mayhem, and the extermination of human life on this planet, a forced march into obsolescence thrust upon us by a global satanic death cult of pedophiles. Please check out anomicage.com if you've not already done so. Like all the likes, subscribe to all the subscriptions. PayPal.me/anomicage, Patreon.com/anomicage as well. We got the buy me a cup of coffee. We got the Cash App. We got Satoshis. Free newsletter. Subscribe by email link. iPhone app, Android app, and so much more. Right there at anomicage.com. So, we're sitting at December 23rd, 2025, year of our Lord. And happy Saturnalia to everybody. All those pagans out there, happy Saturnalia. It began on mi Dia de los Cumpleaños on December 17th, and it shall end on the 25th. Just as the Roman calendar, the Julian Roman calendar dictates. So happy Saturnalia, everybody. I hope you got your tree up, got some evergreen, got some lights, got some candles, and got some gifts. Because we are definitely in the throes of the winter excuse me, of the winter solstice. And we definitely have to make sure that we do the appropriate Saturnalia ritual, or else spring and the summer solstice might not return. So happy Saturnalia, everybody. Thanks for being with me this evening. I will be taking you into the dark side of the AM, my favorite time. I'll be taking you all the way to the 24th. O diciembre anoche. So we got some stuff to get into. We got a lot of stuff to get into. In case you don't know, now you know. What we're getting into this evening is the unseen rituals. We'll delve into the unseen realm. Exactly what we're getting into this evening, folks. It's kind of wild because I honestly think that I keep doing the same show sometimes because the humiliation rituals don't seem to end. I mean, the humiliation rituals are just rampant. So I think every other show, I just kind of cover the waterfront of the latest humiliation rituals that are going on at that time. And I always kind of tongue in cheek and say to myself, man, there's no way I'm going to have to cover humiliation rituals again. But a couple of days go by and the humiliation rituals just ramp up. And, I got to cover some more humiliation rituals. So we'll cover all that. And we'll kind of go big picture, the micro and the macro, because I talked about this on the last show, and I just don't know if people are fully grasping the cultural ramifications of these humiliation rituals. I don't think you are. So I'm going to really cover that again, and I'll try to bring up some different examples because I don't know if people are really grasping what's going on, but I hope you will by the end of it all today. So before we cover the individual incidences, let's just cover some basic groundwork here. So when we're talking about humiliation rituals, what does that really mean? I've talked about this before. I've done a whole show on the struggle sessions in China and how they are very applicable to what we're seeing today. So the struggle sessions in China were part of the Cultural Revolution, where it was vastly younger kids calling out the adults for not being virtuous and condemning them in public. This could, and usually did, require some beatings, some torture, and often death. But the real crux of this was a humiliation of the people, a humiliation of the older set, and a replacement or a relegation by the younger set. And this was all malice funded. This was all, CIA run, basically. We put China out to pasture, and then we gave them favored trading status. We let them back in, in the 70s and all this mess. And here we are today. So this is very cyclical. And what I want people to kind of understand with this is that's what we did see. Well, we're still seeing that. I would say we're seeing it to a lesser degree here in the West, the United States, Los Estados Unidos. But the struggle sessions have been going on in this country for at least 10, probably 15 years, if I'm being real. So what was going on with the struggle sessions is this was the virtue signal. This was all the nonsense you saw with people getting canceled, people online, and people abstaining from talking and doing the Amish shunning thing. Oh my, you said something I don't like. I can't talk to you anymore. And doxing people and all this. This was part of the struggle sessions here in the United States. So we hopefully can grasp that much, right? We got that. So that's self-evident. But then you got to look at it through kind of the more up-to-date lens of the struggle session, because we're not in those, the more shallow end of the pool anymore. Now we're definitely in the deeper end of the pool as the struggle sessions go. So what we're seeing now is very akin to the struggle sessions, but I would just call it a straight-up humiliation ritual. So every time you turn around, every time you look at your social media, every time you look at the news, if you will, you're seeing a real exemplification of a struggle session. You might not recognize it, but put your discernment ears on and eyes on, and you're going to see this for what it is. Just like, I go around the city all the time, and most people don't recognize what's going on. The enlargement and proliferation of bike lanes with the shrinking lanes for the cars, the extinction of single family homes being again erased and usurped by the Agenda 21 dwellings, 800,000 square foot, super high price tag. It's usually some sort of business on the bottom and then 3 stories of housing on the top. So this is what we're seeing in every city around the United States. This isn't anything new. But if you see that, you're just going to think, oh my gosh, I can't believe what's going on. But if you see that through that discernment lens and eyeballs, you're going to see that as Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. That's what all this is. And it's not unique to my city. It's not unique to yours. It's going ubiquitous all across the United States. And consequently, we're going to see the rollout of what we're already seeing, but the rewilding plan. Most cities are just going to be consumed by a rewilding plan to save the animals and to urinate all over the Homo sapiens. That's really what's up. And just like the Hunger Games, it's going to be one specific area that the plebs can go in. They'll be in their little slave quarters, whatever they've cordoned off your plantation borders. You can stay there. And then the elites will be in their ivory towers and their castles, if you will, to go full old world. And that's exactly what we're going to see. So again, if you sort of look through that parallax view or are able to drop the cognitive dissonance and see this for what it is, that's what's going on. So likewise, these unseen occult rituals are going on around us all the time, but we're not fully grasping it. And I believe this is kind of more, this is again more of an extension of the K through 12 indoctrination, college, university weaponization, because within those ivory towers and those institutions, that's where people are trained to think a certain way. So you're trained to believe that it's not Agenda 21, it's humanitarian efforts to save the wildlife. And when you see these different rituals going on, you're trained to think, oh, no, that's not a humiliation ritual. That's just someone else, coming to their senses and changing their position, or someone that did something bad. They got scolded by the shaking finger, the nanny state. And that's really what's going on here. So that's what we're seeing with these unseen rituals. And we can see it through a lot of different ways. My goodness, there's so much to get into with this stuff. But the unseen rituals have really been kind of rolled out, and we've been trained to not see them. We've been trained to ignore our discernment and just trust the science. We've been trained to ignore our discernment and just trust the academicians. So another way to look at this is kind of through that lens of the satanic panic, because the satanic panic, I will say, although elements of this were real, make no mistake about it, satanic panic was a real thing. It wasn't just this panic that they tell you in social science. It was a real thing. But they trained the general public to first say, okay, anything that looks dark and uses obvious satanic iconography, that is bad. So, of course, if you're looking shallow into the pool, you're going, okay, that makes reasonable sense. However, then they flipped the script and said, oh no, it's all under the guise of a satanic panic. It was those Christian fundamentalists that thought dancing was bad and all rock music was bad, that claimed everything was satanic. Okay. So they conditioned people first to hyperbolically trigger on events. And then they scolded you and told you, no, you were wrong. You were mistaken. We'll tell you what the right thing is. Okay. And you see the same sort of rollout if you remember The Matrix. The woman in the red dress. The woman in the red dress was a red herring. She was a distraction within the Matrix. So we see the same thing happen in our country and culture today, where we see an op being rolled out. They give you the red herring. They give you the problem. They wait for your reaction. Then they offer the solution. It's Hegelian dialectic all over again. So that's also what we're seeing today. So after they told you, oh, satanic panic, that's just a bunch of hogwash. Then they've conditioned you to not go beyond the shallow end of the pool. They've conditioned you that, okay, it's only going to be seen as satanic. And even then, it's probably just a joke if they come right out in your face and give you something like Marilyn Manson, like 20 some years ago. And then people oohed and awed and went, oh, that's very reminiscent of everything they told us in the late 70s and 80s. He's persona non grata. He's bad. I'm not suggesting he was good. Okay. So you can have two different things coexist at the same time. You don't have to go binary opposition and just pick a side. Okay. So Marilyn Manson, bad. Got it. His music sucks. He was a total grift, a 90s version of Alice Cooper, blah, blah, blah. It's all just a joke, really, folks. But when people saw that, they went, okay, dark guy, bad. But what they couldn't simultaneously digest is that when the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, he's not going to show up with a red pitchfork, some horns, a freaky beard, a goatee rather, and a red jumpsuit. That's not how the devil's going to show up. So they first conditioned the people that that's what it's going to be. Then they said, oh, you were stupid for falling for it. And then they give you just kind of like each generation has their example of, oh, this guy's satanic. And it's like remotely dark and everybody goes, ooh, that's the bad guy. What they don't get is that's the shallow end of the pool of the bad guy. So people look at Taylor Swift and go, oh, yeah, she's not satanic. They look at, the most just vanilla stuff in the world. People can't seem to grasp that can and is the real entry point of the evil. That can and is where the real rituals are taking place. They take, one of the would-be most wholesome events right up there with mom, apple pie, and baseball, the Super Bowl. They've turned the Super Bowl for 20 years into a satanic ritual. And they get these obscure acts up there to pull their Satan shtick. And that's obvious. But what you're not seeing is it's the other acts that are really pulling the wool over your eyes. I mean, I didn't buy this. But then I had a guy on, good grief. I should know this guy's name. Goodness. He's on multiple times. Let me see if I can pull him up. But he was on multiple times. I'm not going to remember this. I know it. But he did some work with the paranormal. He's a minister that goes out there and tries to help people that are in these really bad situations with the demonic. There he is, Bill Bean. Bill Bean, that's his name. Thanks. And thank you, Bill, for being on the show if you're listening. Bill Bean, great example of that because I learned something all the time from guests on the show. I learned just by doing research for the shows, even these ones I'm doing right now, solo. But Bill Bean threw out the name that I couldn't believe. He said Hall & Oates. Hall & Oates, like the most vanilla, like adult contemporary rock, of the 70s and into the 80s. But I love Hall & Oates myself. And I was like, Bill, what the? I went up after he was on and looked it up. And yeah, Hall & Oates, they got interviews of these guys. Daryl Hall, if I'm not mistaken, he's the main guy that was in interview and discussing this. But he was like, yeah. Talking about how his work, his music was evil. It was not meant to be vanilla. It was meant to be a palatable in, if you will, to get people defenses down and then throw them into the deep end of the pool. So people really don't understand how the devil operates, and they don't understand these unseen rituals. Because it's one thing to see these Super Bowl, sacrifice performances from Lady Gaga and all these entities or whatever, but that's the vanilla into the pool, folks. So I really want people to come out of the dark and into the light, if you will, and try to grasp some of these unseen rituals, grasp the greater humiliation ritual that's going on all around you all the time. Because people mistakenly always say, oh, I can't believe they're so stupid. I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe they don't realize. They realize it, folks. They're not stupid. It's an operation. So when people come out, these cult members for Trump, and I can't believe Trump's giving more to Ukraine, giving more to Israel, giving more to whatever Asian country he was giving monies to. Was it like Taiwan, I believe? Can't believe he's doing that. I can't believe, you know, they hadn't released the Epstein files. I can't believe nobody's been arrested. I can't believe the border's, you know, still open. It's like they say this stuff and they don't get it, folks. It's a con, a hustle, and a dodge. It's a scam. But people don't want to realize that. So they don't believe that it's a humiliation ritual. They don't grasp what trauma-based mind control is. They don't grasp what humiliation rituals are. So if you look back at the MK Ultra trauma-based mind control stuff, which was going on easily since the 1950s in this country and well on beyond that, still going on today. Just like what was the church committee hearings in the early to almost mid 70s finally came out and said, oh yeah, Operation Mockingbird, like all the major networks are controlled ops by the government. Yeah. I mean, the government has an office in Hollywood at these major studios that they gets to discern what they disseminate regarding to the government. You don't think like all these big military action psyop movies like Black Hawk Down and what was that other job mess? I can't remember. It was during the 9/11 hoax, the false flag there, where they were like, let's roll. That was it. It was a propaganda movie, Let's Roll. I guess it was like a TV movie. I can't remember. But it's all BS, folks. It's really what I'm trying to get you to understand. So people can't come to that realization that the trauma-based mind control has been going on for over 60 years, 70 plus, really, of the CIA, the FBI, knowingly and wittingly putting the American people in harm over and over again on a national level to traumatize the American people. I mean, that's what the body bags coming back from Vietnam, like live on the news every night was in the 70s and late 60s. That's what that was about. That's what the Oklahoma City bombing was about. That's what World Trade I was about and World Trade II. That's what all this has been about. That's why they had to show you the towers falling down over and over and over for months at a time. That's why they had to show you Charlie Kirk getting shot over and over and over again, all over social media. I mean, they can censor one of my posts that criticizes X, Y, and Z, but they can show some guy getting shot in the neck or allegedly getting shot in the neck. I don't buy any of it. Allegedly getting shot in the neck for weeks at a time. So you've got this dichotomy where one is bad and one is good. One is bad and one is good. So it's pedophilia if so-and-so does it, but it's art if some artist does it, right? That's what this kind of sick crap is. You got Roman Polanski. Oh, he's a pedophile scumbag. Oh, he's a big Hollywood icon. So all the left tries to deflect him being a pedophile and still raise him up as this iconic director and producer and figure of Hollywood. He's a scumbag, folks. If you're doing anything involving the child and nudity, I'm sorry, you're a pedophile. That's what that's called. Okay? Just as plain as day. But the alleged they would have you believe otherwise. They would have you to try not to notice the rituals that are going on all around you all the time. So we've covered the trauma-based mind control, but what's the humiliation ritual about, John? Well, the humiliation ritual is really about humiliating the public, getting the public to accept that there's nothing that they can do. Both parties are bought and paid for. There's no point in resisting. You're just screwed. You're humiliated. So we've seen this in psychology for decades. I mean, there's been psychological studies on this. Remember the shock plate and the dogs, where they would shock the dogs and they would get them to just lay down on the shock plate because they were chained up and knew they could not escape. It's an old study. I mean, look into it. I can't recall the gentleman's name. I've covered it on the show like 10 times. I just can't even remember these names anymore. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick because I know somebody's going to die. If I don't pull it up for you, you're going to freak out. The Stanley Milgram experiment, not an experience. I guess it was an experience for the dog, but it's called learned helplessness. So part of the humiliation ritual is just that. It's learned helplessness. So it's getting the general public to just associate that there's nothing you can do. You're in learned helplessness. You've gotten shocked by the right. You've gotten shocked by the left. You thought Trump was going to save you. You were a moron. He didn't. There's nothing you can do. Learned helplessness. And it's also a way to denigrate and humiliate every single icon and hero and anyone else that's ever been uplifted as a possible savior. It's like the Albert Pike thing, where when they need a savior, one will be provided for them. Morals and dogma. Albert Pike. That's a paraphrase. So somebody's going to say, that's not the real quote. Okay, look it up for yourself, bozo. Don't care. So that's really what's going on. It's humiliation ritual. It's this sort of cyclical rise and fall of the proverbial tragic hero. We see this in our culture all the time. America loves to take shots at people, take people down, and then they get on a grovel tour and apologize. And, well, it's okay. Let's let bygones be bygones. Come on back in the fold. You did your best. We'll forgive you. If you haven't grasped that, it's cyclical in our society all the time. That old Bad Religion song, build me up, tear me down, like the skyscraper. That's what we love to do, man. Oprah was synonymous for that garbage. Have some boob on that, oh, he beat his wife. Oh, he stole money from the company. Oh, he was a big celebrity and was caught cheating. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And then before you know it, well, we've taken a lot of shots and taken a wee at this guy. Well, it's time to raise him back up again. After all, we're America, or the land of second chances. And that's what we do, folks. So that's what we're seeing 8 days a week and twice on Sunday. That's what we're seeing all over the social media, all over the news, all the time. That's it. And if you haven't figured this out, I believe this to be kind of self-evident at this point, but the major rock stars, if you will, I mean, this stuff's just hilarious at this point in the game. I had this dang name and I've forgotten everything. But the major rock stars, yeah, Frankie Valli. Thank you. Frankie Valli is one of the ones that I mentioned on this show about a year ago. But I do believe this is absolutely the case now. Everybody that's a big star, especially the rock variety, I do believe that there's a contract signed. If you go back into like the John Todd stuff, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, and even look into the stuff Bill Bean mentioned on my show about a year and a half ago, he mentioned a lot of these big name rock stars, and it came out in the 70s that, yeah, they had rituals over the tapes at the time and over the records and the pressings. This is a definite ritual attack against the people. If you look at who's that scumbag that came out? Pardon me. The scumbag that came out, was it last month? I can't think of this. That gypsy moron. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh man, let me see her name. Yeah, this makes me so mad because Fleetwood Mac. It's like the third time I've had to fact check myself because I have no notes whatsoever for the show. Zero. I have like an old note thing under the desk here, and it's from like 3 shows ago. Fleetwood Mac, the singer, the main woman for that Turkey band, came out, I think last month. It was all over social media. It was like she was so glad she had an abortion so that Fleetwood Mac could go on. You know, right before they got it big, she had a pregnancy, and well, that just didn't work out with her schedule. So she had to kill the baby so they could go on and have the drug-addled, you know, debaucherous crud that is Fleetwood Mac. But kind of like I said before, Fleetwood Mac was palatable mainstream pablum at the time. So juxtapose that to something contemporaneous at the time, like, I don't know, like Kiss, Led Zeppelin, like contemporaneous stuff that people went, ooh, that's dark. Alice Cooper, ooh, that's dark. But Fleetwood Mac, oh, that's perfectly reasonable, you know, adult contemporary rock. This is the kind of crud that still is played and still tours to this day. But to my point, I'm convinced that these big acts definitely have a contract, and part of that contract is a humiliation ritual. Part of that contract is you will play until you are dead. Because you saw that with Frankie Valli. I mean, I hope he's still alive, but I saw him all over social media about 9 months ago, and it was just him obviously standing there completely brain-addled, not singing, backing track, background singers, full band, the whole nine. And it was sad. It was pitiful. Okay? Flash forward to the last few months, you've seen the same thing out of Vince Neil from Motley Crue. You've seen the same thing from David Lee Roth, from Van Halen. You've seen the same thing from Rod Stewart. You've seen the same thing from AC/DC. This is just a cycle, folks. We raise these demigods up. We worship these people. And then we allow them to crash and burn. And you've got the sycophants that go out there and say, well, he's still having a good time. Yeah, he's not really singing anymore. Yeah, this sounds like garbage. Yeah, you're paying exorbitant prices for this crud, but well, he's earned it. He's having a good time. Let's not be mean to David Lee Roth or Vince Neil. You know, there's something about this, folks. It is a humiliation ritual. It is the rise and fall. It's that old behind the music thing. Behind the music. Big Reed always says the true Hollywood story. Shout out to Big Reed. Exactly. But this is all on contract, folks. Most of these big sports stars, I'd say 9 out of 10. Once they leave the game, the gridiron, what have you, they're not even recognizable. They put on 50 pounds. They're living, you know, way under that big lifestyle that they once had. It's sad. It's the humiliation cycle of the sports star. It's the humiliation cycle of the entertainer. Who's that other giblet head? Machine Gun Kelly. You've probably all seen his terrible mess all over social media too. He is not even close to what he once was. He originally came out as like this white rapper a la Eminem of the 2000s. And now he's relegated to, what is it? Some sort of 98 degrees kind of dribble. Ever since he got with Megan Fox, another occultic bimbo. You know, it's just like, but this is what people aren't grasping. This is what people aren't seeing. They're not seeing the unseen rituals, folks. You're just not seeing it. I don't know why you're not seeing it, but you should be. So we've tackled the humiliation rituals as it pertains to the entertainers, the sports stars. Pardon me. And we've looked at it through the lens of trauma-based mind control and how it sort of couples up with the trauma-based mind control and the humiliation ritual to just lead the general public into the realm of learned helplessness, into the Stanley Milgram experiments of learned helplessness. That's what this is all about. It's training the general public that you cannot resist. It's like I've said a million times, you put the stake in the ground and you chain up the baby elephant. That baby elephant grows to a multi-ton juggernaut that could easily rip the tent, the town down. But in its own mind's eye, it is still in that area of learned helplessness. So as an adult elephant, it does not perceive the ability to kick the tent stake up and just haul buggy down the road. And that's what they're doing with the American people. They're putting the blinders on. They're putting the unseen rituals on, because they've got most of the general public conditioned the fact that no rituals are even going on. And if they are, it's only done by the dark, spooky types that come out and like profess their allegiance to Satan, profess their allegiance to Baal, you know, this sort of crud that we've seen for years. I mean, that's what the Satanic Church was all about. Anton LaVey. I mean, that was not real. That was a gimmick. It was real in the sense that people believed it. It was real in the sense that they were promulgating debaucherous lifestyles of free love, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. They were promoting that kind of mess. But it wasn't real in the sense that it was it was like the training wheels of what was really going on. But it got the general public to go, look, that's the bad guy. It's like Michael Aquino with his stupid eyebrows. It's like, look, that's the bad guy, the guy that dresses like the part, the guy who dresses like Dracula, dresses like Satan, whatever. But you fail to see the evil that's right in front of your face. You fail to see the things that we're seeing on the screen and that we've already talked about and addressed in this show thus far. But how this impacts the culture is the real big picture, because it impacts the stars, it impacts the individuals, but how does it impact the culture? Well, it impacts the culture because it conditions us to be humiliated. It conditions us to be the butt of the joke. It conditions the American people to be the minstrel show. And it conditions the American people to perceive their heroes as being just one step away from a big folly, one step away from pulling out the chair for Netanyahu, one step away from making out with some wall, one step away from turning your back on your base and saying they're not real MAGA anymore. And that's what we've seen 8 days a week and twice on Sunday, folks. So let's tackle some of the folks that you're seeing on the screen. Obvious, you could put Trump up there as the demigod of demigods and the most obvious example of an unseen ritual ever since he took office, really. I mean, it really showed its face when he pulled out the chair for Netanyahu. It further was exemplified when he turned his back on his base and said, oh, you're not real MAGA if you're not up Israel's rear. It continued to show itself with the continued funding of Ukraine, the continued funding of Israel, all that. It continued to show itself with the obvious, still pushing the vaccine, still pushing Operation Warp Speed. Nothing to see here. I did a great job. And the most egregious one I think I saw in the last week was the A++++ economy. That's just got to be the biggest laugh of all time. So everyone with a brain knows that this is B to the S. So you have to take this as being a humiliation ritual. There's no other explanation for it. I mean, you just don't flip on your whole base like that unless this is a signed and sealed and delivered humiliation ritual. Makes sense yet? What else we got? We got the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to hit them last. Some of the more higher echelon turns for me has got to be the Charlie Kirk incident. The Charlie Kirk incident is just out of control. Crazy. I'm going to pull this one up. Let me see. This is that guy, Cabot Phillips. I'll tackle this because everybody, well, I'll take that back. Some people have figured this out. Cabot Phillips. Okay. What the bleep has he got to do with anything? He's the editor, the senior editor. Pinkies out. He's a senior editor of Daily Wire. We obviously see the connections with Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, the fake conservative front, the rhinos in chiefs, all the job mess that you should have already known. But what I find kind of funny about this is what was revealed, I believe, in the past week, or at least to my eyes. We got Cabot Phillips was allegedly dating old Eric E. Kirk. Dating old Erica Kirk a little bit before Charlie. And the weird thing is old Charlie was friends with Cabot, playing a little basketball even. I talked to somebody the other day who actually spoke with Charlie a couple years back. I want to talk to him further about it. Shout out to Mark if you listen, buddy. Shout out to Mark with Wisdom and Knowledge 5. I hope it's not 6, I swear. I think it's Wisdom and Knowledge 5. Anyway, shout out to you, Mark. But I want to know a little bit more about that whole relationship, because it seems to me like Erica's talking about she never knew Charlie, never dated anybody for a couple years while she was in that vicinity. But now it seems clear to me that was just more lies to deceive. So we got that kind of obvious connection. And what else we got from Erica? We got so much for Erica. We could just do a whole show, really, on the unseen rituals from Erica Kirk. Everybody's been talking about her eyes, and they look, anytime somebody calls her out on her bull jive, she goes into this, I'm a spooky spook eye mode, and I'm going to get you kind of look, you know. But anyway, we already know that Erica was just apparently mysteriously called out of the blue by DJT to take part in a beauty pageant in Arizona. And imagine that. She won. Holy shit. That's unbelievable. And then she went on to be an actress and went on to be employed by Trump. How bizarre. So it seems to me like she's a honeypot plant for Charlie Kirk that was set up way in the past, perhaps by DJT himself. What do you know? So that seems kind of self-evident, but the rituals is really what I wanted to get into today, because the rituals are just comical now. Every time you see this woman, she's rocking some scantily clad gear, and I'm not suggesting she's sewing any skin, but she's got enough glitter on to make a disco ball jealous in the most recent footage. She's got them leather pants on from her groping ritual with not DJT, but JD Vance. Sorry, another guy. This is a shapeshifter changing names, like he's changing lanes on the highway. JD Vance, who basically, this is another humiliation ritual of humiliation rituals, because it won't even a week after this alleged death of Charlie Kirk, where she's out there saying nobody will take the place of Charlie except maybe JD Vance. What? And the next thing you know, she's up there groping the dude's nape of the neck on public television. Humiliation ritual again. But like I said before, folks, it's a humiliation ritual for everyone that participates in it. That's what people don't understand about rituals and sacrifice. Symbols, rituals, and sacrifice is you don't actually have to be an actual active participant to be a participant in it. Because much like the world wars were huge sacrifices of bodies to bring about the next and the next and the next. I mean, to bring about the police state, to bring out the UN, all these different death rituals had a purpose. So you didn't have to actually be murdering somebody. You just had to be part of the shtick, part of the act. So when the Aztecs were killing thousands of people a day, every single person in the Aztec Empire wasn't actively gutting people and pulling their hearts out, but it was an active sacrifice conducted by that culture. So it was reflected on all the members of that society. So that's what we see with the trauma-based mind control. And that's what we also see as these rituals of humiliation unfold. So anybody that was just up Charlie Kirk's rear and thought he was the second coming was first set with the trauma-based mind control, and then set again with the humiliation rituals of his wife just going on a book tour. His wife just, hey, let me just release a book. It's been a couple of weeks since my husband died. I got that. That's fine. After all, when I was 17, I had Romanian orphanages that were trafficking kids and got shut down. Isn't that weird? More rituals, more humiliation. The Epstein files, that's another humiliation ritual, because what was run on with at least 2, if not 3 platforms now by DJT was, I'm going to get the deep state. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to go after these pedophiles. We're going to go get them. No, we're not. We're not going to go get them. And when we're finally pressed on it, we're going to release BS that amounts to a black piece of paper with a couple white lines on it. That's going to be your big release. That's going to be your big exhale moment. That's a humiliation ritual, folks. People believed in this boob, and now they're humiliated. They feel like idiots, or at least they should. What do we got with Andrew Tate and Jake Paul? Why did I put them on the screen, folks? I put them on the screen because they are another extension of a humiliation ritual. So the Jake Paul thing is kind of twofold, because anybody who saw him fight Mike Tyson knows that that was a rigged fight if there ever was one. That was a payday for Mike. That was just a publicity stunt for Jake. That's all that was. If you believe otherwise, all you have to do is watch that one little bit of film where Mike is closing in on that right hook, and he could have knocked Jake's block off, and he pulls the punch and just doesn't throw the punch. That took a lot of restraint by Iron Mike Tyson, because your muscle memory is real. And I don't know what he got paid or how that worked out, but suffice it to say, that was a humiliation ritual for Iron Mike Tyson. We already had this guy convicted of rape, serving time, came back out, rose to prominence again, the ebb and the flow, the rise and the fall of the tragic hero. Then he kind of went on this humiliation. I'm just a big weed head. I'm a goofball who gets in these moronic movies like The Hangover and whatever else. And then what everybody wanted to see was that tragic hero take the sword, take the shield, and rise to prominence once again. But alas, the payoff was too great, and he had to fall. to Jake there. But then with Jake Paul and with Andrew Tate, both of these people have risen to prominence in the manosphere. I'd say definitely Andrew Tate more than the Jake Paul, but rose to prominence in the manosphere as far as people that kind of, when you need a hero, one will be provided. They gave life to an otherwise wimpy, limp-wristed, funny boy man environment in the United States, where everybody got browbeat by their female professors, by their female teachers, and by their female-led DEI everywhere, not to mention the propaganda in all media, that men were bad, especially white heterosexuals. You were the problem. The best thing you can do is just bow down, kiss the feet of the women, especially those of color, especially those of Muslim faith, and especially those that are trannies and queer. Kiss their ring. Otherwise, you're excommunicated. You're humiliated. We don't even want anything to do with you. So as a consequence, the pendulum swings back. You got Andrew Tate. You got folks like Jake Paul coming out there and at least showing some testosterone. Real, imaginary, contrived. We all know the legal stuff going on with Andrew Tate. We've all seen that. And for my money, Jake Paul is just nothing more than a paper tiger, completely internet creation. I hold no stock in either of them, to be honest with you, but the general public did. And what we saw in one failed swoop, one day, we saw both of these tragic heroes fall. One got the brakes beat off in a boxing ring. The other got the brakes beat off in another ring. So we saw another humiliation ritual, back to back, one day. Take them out, take them all out. Which leads me to believe that there must be another hero coming up. I don't know. I got some times. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention this. Alexander Emmerich Jones. Man, I got no idea. Yes, I do. Anyone who's followed his work for any length of time can tell there's a difference. I don't give a crap how many people come out and support him, how much he wants to belabor these points. There's a huge difference in the person that was once Alex Jones, whatever that is. Most people are going to say, oh, it's really just Bill Cooper, that they did away with Bill Cooper and basically propped Alex Jones up to be the next Bill Cooper, let him earn all this money, do all this stuff, and like the ebbs and the flows of the tragic heroes, it's time for him to go. So that's what I would say with this. That's exactly what I think. But he did put out some good information for a little bit. Just couldn't seem to circle the real marauders on the map, I don't think. I didn't even know he was getting divorced again. I saw this today when I was just kind of looking up, doing a little background information because I haven't watched InfoWars in so long. But apparently both he and his wife have a restraining order on each other or something, and they're excuse me, both filed for divorce. So I don't know. Whatever the case may be, I don't know. I see handlers all over the first wife, and I don't know what's going on with the second. Maybe just a little. Well, I do know what's going on. If you look at the reel on the second wife deal, you're gonna see some little what? You're gonna raise an eyebrow on it. That's not gonna be my thing to discuss on this show because I ain't here for that. I am here for the humiliation ritual side of things, though, and I think that's exactly what they're doing with Alex Jones. They basically said you went a bridge too far when you dared to question, even at the most innocent level, the Sandy Hook false flag. But once you did that, then we had you by the short hairs and we could fully control you. We controlled you a little bit before, but then we just said, you know what? You're not going off reservation again, and we're going to fully control you this time. Because he came out, I guess, about 24 hours ago, just lambasting Candace and Candace Owens and saying, oh, no, she didn't have her facts right. You know, she's just pulling stuff out of the hat. She's not accurate. She's just spinning a yarn and trying to somehow frame Israel, somehow frame the U.S. government or frame our military. And that's just comedy at its best. Really. I mean, Alex Jones has always been a funny guy, but when I hear that, that is comedy. That's funny, just ridiculously funny. Because Alex Jones knows this as well as I do, and probably as well as you do, that the number one person that's usually behind the false flags, the ops, is the government. Okay? That'd be the United States government. And you could always throw MI6 and MI5 in there too. You know, Tavistock Institute, CIA, FBI, all that is kind of synonymous with, oh, who could be behind this? Oh, I got a pretty good idea. Okay. So that's just prima facie. And then you've got the other side of this where it's like it can be anyone but Israel could be behind this. It's kind of what Alex has said over and over again. And then he'll quickly follow up with, but I covered the USS Liberty 20 years ago, and I was the only one covering it. Nobody would know about it if it wasn't for me. And I'm like, yeah, good. You're living off old stuff. Trying to be nice. I'm trying not to say the stuff. And that's a sad point in everyone's life. Well, I don't say everyone, but I think a lot of people end up in that position, which brings me back to the humiliation ritual of the rock stars and the entertainers. And that's what we see with rock stars and entertainers. You see these big mega acts, the legacy acts, if you will, they don't release new material. They're living off the fumes of the old material. And that's what Alex is doing too. Sorry, facts time. You can't say Israel. You can't say it's our government. You can only criticize people that are daring to ask the real questions while simultaneously bringing up things you did 20-some years ago. And it's a sad state of affairs. But you see that quite a bit with athletes. You see that with rock stars. You see that with entertainers in the movie and television industry. It's always the same. So it's a humiliation ritual is really what it is. It's kind of like the last person you would expect to come out and criticize someone for doing X, Y, and Z is that guy. It's almost as if you had Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, or Roger Clemens come out and criticize younger players that are doing steroids. That's exactly what that would be like. It's like you did steroids years ago. You racked up all these numbers. You got all this street cred within your prospective field, pun intended. And now you're coming out saying, bad, you're doing steroids. So your entire legacy, Alex Jones, has been built on questioning the government, questioning the media, and calling a false flag, and a conspiracy. But now that someone else is doing it, that I suppose has beat you to the punch and daring to call out the greatest ally that you can't, they're now persona non grata. It just doesn't make sense, man. And I realize that it's not one big kumbaya conspiracy, alt-right, alt-media, whatever the bleep. That's just a complete fallacy. That's not how it is. But having knowledge that that's not how it is, you would think that a big name in the field like he would definitely say, hey, you know, I've had my time in the sun. I'm still a big name on the block. I don't have to criticize Candace. I don't have to agree with Candace. He can just continue his, it's the globalist and it's the Muslims mantra. Just ignore it. Who cares? So again, I think that just does a disservice to him, his legacy, and even those of us who are actually questioning stuff. It makes everybody look like a clown, and it's a vast humiliation ritual, John. That's what it is. I am dying for some reason. My throat. Pardon me. My throat is dry and just kind of scratchy. I don't know what's going on. It wasn't like that all day when I was out fighting the scum on the street, just going to like 5 stores and almost having a mental breakdown. Just kidding, folks. No mental breakdown on the horizon. All right, we got the low-hanging fruit, the obvious. We'll cover this succinctly and call it a day. You got Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is now helping out Turning Point USA, I guess. I can't recall what the name of their stupid tour is or whatever. They've got all these. Excuse me. They've got all these big name boobs in the Rhino fake conservative field. If you're wondering who these big name boobs are, look no further because I can show you. Let me see. I'll pull this one up for you because I know exactly where these folks are. There they are. Let's put this on the screen. There we go. The controlled bunch. The controlled bunch. That's the usual suspects. You had Talmud Tatum up there the other night talking about how he was giving like 300,000 or something to Turning Point. You got Jack Persobic there, bottom middle, still weaving his yarn. I looked at something he was doing a few minutes before airtime, and I just said, forget it. I don't even care. And people are finally waking up to Robbins over there. Tim Pool, he's kind of faded last time. He talked some smack about Candace, and she checked him on it. Kind of faded away. Laura Loomer, I don't even know what's real or imaginary with that creature anymore. Every time I look on social media, there seems to be this grotesque image of her that I hope, assume, and appreciate has to be AI. I don't even believe it's real. Nick is kind of pulling back into center line. He's actually criticizing our greatest ally a little bit. And, well, the rest are where they are. So back to some obvious weird jive. Nicki Minaj. Erica Kirk brought this person up on stage, I think about 24 hours ago. So she's going to be the new darling of the right. And like I've said, in the rock or music industry, everything is cyclical. So if you want to go back to Little Kim, what's kind of like the 90s black harlot that everybody on the into that mess aspired to and thought, oh, she's the hottest whore in the hip hop world. And then you had, I guess, Nicki Minaj kind of took over that position. Then you had Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, all this kind of crap. Don't worry, like the fake rock industry's got that too with Sabrina Carpenter, yucky, and Billie Eilish. They always prop up like the most unattractive people and just try to pander to whatever like one aspect is that they can catch everybody in the horror game. They can catch everybody in their passions and catch them with. So, that's what they're trying to do with Sabrina Carpenter now. I've never seen a fail like this before. Like they've been pushing Sabrina Carpenter for like 8-9 months now, and still nobody's biting the horror bait for her. Like they're doing everything possible, still not biting on it. I think Billie Eilish, they're just going to let her fade into lesbianism now or something, because for a while they were trying to prop her up as kind of like a Pink 2.0. And they were trying to emphasize her cup size and all this, trying to make her be attractive when that's not accurate. And they're doing the same thing with Sabrina Carpenter, trying to make her attractive when she's not. But I mean, it worked in the past. If you look at Madonna, clearly a goblin creature, but people fell for it. So bottom line is that's what they're now doing. It's like a changing of the guard. You saw like one player steps down, Kobe, and then the rise of the next big thing, which is LeBron or what have you. So that's what we're seeing with blanking on this chick's name. I just ran over like all the names. Nicki Minaj. There it is. That's what you're seeing now with Nicki Minaj. She's obviously been used up for all of her selling that kind of BS, Little Kim of the 2000s garbage, the hip hop whore of the 2000s. Her time with that is spent. So now she is switching gears and becoming a conservative darling, which is the comedy of all comedies. I mean, Nicki Minaj. Anyone not picking up on the obvious? Her name is referencing a menage a trois, like a sexual encounter with 3 people. Okay, that's her name. Her stage name. It's not her real name. As some of her iconic songs like Anaconda, feature her in as little clothing as you could possibly have on while parading around all sorts of assets. You know what I'm saying? But don't worry, because you learned about a month ago that she was a conservative. She came out and said something pro-Trump, and all the Trump cult members went, ooh, great. We've got another token black female that we can hang our hats on. So they did. And they have. Because Erica Kirk, I guess, in the midst of, fifth performance of the pyrotechnics, the glittery suits, the tight leather pants, the whole 9 yards, this is just how she grieves, folks. I don't know why you would think that's a humiliation ritual. It is. But I mean, who would have thought? Like he's humiliation ritual on herself and the general public, the followers in that cult, right? That's what you should be taking away from this. But here's where the humiliation gets even more complicated, because you've got video out there of Charlie Kirk calling out Nicki Minaj by name and saying, yo, she's kind of doing a disservice to the black community by going out there and being the token whore of the hip hop culture for 15 plus years. That's not the sort of example. I'm paraphrasing Charlie Kirk here. That's not the sort of example that should be promulgated for young black women to follow. Okay, that was pretty much a good paraphrase of his words. But fear not, because I'm doing my Illuminati hand cover. Okay, Illuminati hand cover. Give me a check. So the obvious thing for Erica Kirk to do, now that she's a multi-millionaire, like the plus economy multi times over, and the CEO of Turning Point, now that she can absolutely take all that Israel money, she can absolutely come out and say Shabbat Shalom or Shabbat whatever. And she could absolutely then take a woman that was criticized by her husband for not being a shining example. She can bring her into the fold. She can do the ebb and flow, the rise and fall of the tragic hero. And now she was discredited for a few records because she wasn't hoary enough, I guess. But don't worry, because we will not let that tragic hero fall. Erica Kirk will swoop her up in her arms, in her bosom, and bring her to the podium at Turning Point USA, so that she will now be the darling of the right. And my eye reference, I hope, is not lost on you, because there's multiple images of old Nikki doing the eye cover. There's multiple images of her, as you see on the screen there, with the checkerboard floor. In case you hadn't picked up on that, that's definitely Masonic imagery. That's Illuminati, just as the eye cover is. If you've seen this picture, I was going to try to weave it into this image. Excuse me. I was going to try to weave it into this image, but I couldn't find a good way to put this image in there. All this imagery courtesy of yours truly, by the way. But there's another image of her covered in monarch butterflies. Again, anybody with the slightest understanding knows the monarch program, another element of the trauma-based mind control brought over here in Operation Paperclip by the United States. So also covered in monarch butterflies. That's another image I couldn't work in there. Standing in front of the checkerboard floor, Masonic, covering one eye. Oh, that's just happenstance. Everybody does that in Hollywood. There must be like the most boring photographers ever assembled, because they all seem to just strike the same pose. Isn't it strange? Strange, isn't it? Oh, and if you forgot about this, she also came out, this was several years back, and said, yo, when I take the stage, an entity basically takes over my body. If I'm not mistaken, his name is Ronan. Just fact check me on this. Ronan. Ronan takes over my body, and he's my alter ego, my split personality. I mean, you see the same thing with Sasha Fierce and that trash Beyonce. Same garbage. You've heard similar mess from Gaga. You've heard similar mess from all these different stars over the years. But that's just something they say, right? It has no meaning. It's not any sort of unseen ritual going on. It's nothing occult to it, John. Why would you think that, Mr. H? ¿Por qué? I can't imagine why. I mean, there's just video of this. There's imagery of this. But suddenly, it's time to flip the tragic hero and make the once reviled sex pot of the hip hop world. Now she has changed her ways, and now she's going to be the next big starlet for Turning Point USA. You just can't make this job up, folks. And like I've talked about before, the whole thing, humiliation ritual from Erica Kirk, Turning Point USA, Tammy Faye Baker, Heritage USA. Nobody's connecting these dots. I've yet to see anyone connect some obvious dots like this. Same name, same sort of persona, same deal. The only difference is Tammy Faye Baker's husband, Jim Baker, did not get assassinated nor die. He's alive and well. Same sort of sketchiness with money, same sort of sketchiness with this woman crying all over the stage. Anytime it suits the fancy, anytime they say, well, you know, you're going on a big show, you might as well cry on this one. It's a humiliation ritual. It's humiliating themselves, but more to the point, it's the humiliation of the culture. It's a cultural humiliation ritual. You do not have to sign up and show up to a ritual for it to be affecting you. You do not have to show up at a coven in the park on a moonlit Hallows Eve to be part of a occult ritual, for heaven's sakes. Most Christians are doing it right now. They got the tree in the flipping den. They got the lights on the tree. They got the garland. They got the little gifts under there. That's a humiliation ritual too, in case you hadn't figured that out yet. Constantine, anyone? Constantine just took all the paganism that was going on in Rome and just kind of interwove it into the Roman Catholic Church. Didn't pick up on that, did you? That's a humiliation ritual. You got Christians doing occult rituals, and it doesn't seem to bother anyone because the only one that bothers people is Halloween. Just like I said before, folks, people are scared and reactionary towards the spooky in the room, towards the woman in the red dress, because they think that's how the devil's going to come in. The devil's going to come in, big mask, I've got my pistol. Horse pucky, folks, horse manure. No, the devil will come in under the guise of Estar with your little basket and eggs and fertility rituals. It'll come under the guise of Saturnalia, La Navidad, right? You should know this, folks. Usa el cerebro. Es importante. All right, I've gone over time a little bit, but not too much. I'm going to close on this one. I believe we're going to put the image on the screen one more time. The unseen rituals. That's what you should be discerning from this. We've talked about various unseen rituals. The blindfold, that's another very Masonic ritual. The hand in the vest. All these are unseen rituals, folks. You see this all the time on social media with your favorite celebrities. How many times have you seen a hand in the vest like this? It ain't just Napoleon and George Washington doing this hundreds of years ago. It's people all over your TV and radio today. But it's an unseen ritual. It's not grasped by the general public. And people think that if they just don't acknowledge it and don't grasp it, then it's no longer real. But it's kind of like the conscious and the unconscious. That's exactly what it's like, folks, because something can be going on and affect your subconscious. You don't actually have to initiate it. You don't have to acknowledge it even. That's how the conscious and the unconscious mind works. The unconscious mind is always working. I mean, that's how propaganda was used hundreds of years ago. That's how the subliminal messaging was used 50 years ago. Because the unconscious mind picks up on everything. It registers in the subconscious mind. Like that old Suicidal Tendency song. Doesn't register in the conscious mind as propaganda of another kind. Don't bleep with me subliminally. Don't bleep with me subliminally. That's really kind of what this is. It's subliminal on so many levels. These are unseen rituals. They're not subliminal like they're showing you a quick clip during the movie to get you to go get some popcorn. They're showing you all these unseen rituals right before your eyes, but you're not seeing the forest for the trees. You're not seeing what's really going on. You're just seeing it at the surface level and saying, ooh, spooky guy in a mask, bad. Everything else, fine and dandy. Halloween, bad. Christmas Easter, fine and dandy. Alice Cooper, bad. Marilyn Manson, bad. Hall & Oates, fine and dandy. Oh, my gracious goodness sakes alive, folks. Happy Saturnalia. I don't know if I'm going to put out a live show on Thursday. I have a feeling it's going to be a recorded event, but I wish and hope that everyone has a very Merry Christmas. Happy Saturnalia. Whatever you want that to be, I hope it is that for you. The most important thing you should do this holiday is not buy into the bull. Use this time of season to cut off the cameras, cut off the devices, cut off the TVs, and just sit around and talk. Reconnect to your family, your absolute close immediate family. That's what you need to connect to. Align your little deck chairs and talk. Real talk that actually matters, not what are you watching on Netflix. That's dribble for morons. That's what you need to do this holiday season. Get some rest, eat some non-GMO organic food, do a little exercising if you can, and get ready for what's coming down the pike, folks, because you can't do everything, but you can do something. Get out there, do your part, make a difference, and I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.